Okay, so once again, I've promised that we're going to start with our reasons for learning a foreign language, right, and our love for foreign languages. So first, I'm going to tell you why I love foreign languages. To me, foreign languages are pretty much the most interesting thing there is. I'm fascinated by them, fascinated by cultures, and I am convinced that foreign languages make us better. They help us communicate with people from other countries, which I know you all know is true. If you travel, you can talk to locals, and that is amazing. Also fascinates me how one day you might not understand anything someone else is saying, and then a couple of months later, a couple of years later, once you studied the language, you can actually have a conversation with them. Kind of magical. And then travel clearly becomes cheaper and easier when you speak foreign languages. Once again, you can communicate with locals. You can find certain maybe workarounds. You can find deals. It's definitely easier to travel, and it's certainly cheaper. And then foreign languages, which is really important, open a world of job opportunities. I myself have had quite a few positions where I was using foreign languages, and I probably wouldn't have gotten them if I didn't speak English or Spanish in my case. And then the most important part, as far as I'm concerned, is that studying a foreign language makes you more open minded. Extremely important because it's great to be open minded. It's very important to be tolerant, to be flexible. And you can't always learn that if you are staying in your country, if you don't cross the border, so to say, if you don't meet other people. And studying for a language gives you all that. So that is amazing. Sure you agree on that. So if you don't mind, let me know. Let me know what you think, what your reasons are, why you love foreign languages, and what are your reasons behind learning foreign languages. Let's see if I can invite anybody else. All right, we do have more people joining, so thank you so much and welcome everyone who's joined. Um, so just let me know what your reasons are for learning a foreign language and why you love foreign languages. It'd be great to hear that. Let's go back to our presentation. So I've covered my reasons, and now we're going to go on. We've already covered our lesson plan. I would like to give you a few tips based on my experience of learning foreign languages. First of all, it's conversation, conversation, and once again, conversation. You can study grammar all you want, you can read, you can listen to music, and you can watch movies. But honestly, the best thing to overcome that barrier that you might have is trying to talk. And it might be difficult at first, but if you find the courage to do that, it's very beneficial because the more you talk to people, the more you're able to practice your conversational skills and the more you're able to overcome the fear. Another thing is keep practicing in your head. As I said, monologues running in your head might sound a little strange at first, but actually, let me tell you that it's one of the best tips there is. Because if you do not have a way of practicing at the moment, especially at the moment, right? It was easier before the pandemic. It probably will be easier after, but at the moment, it might be a little difficult to find a partner unless you do that online or something. So one important tip and trick is to have monologues running in your head when you're doing something unrelated. For example, you're doing dishes, you're riding a bus, you are just sitting at home relaxing for a couple of minutes. Think about a topic. Let's say you're thinking about a vacation, and then just start constructing sentences. Imagine that you're in an interview and someone is asking you, "What is your ideal vacation?" And imagine that you're answering their question, and just keep sort of talking to someone imaginary and keep telling them about that particular topic that you've chosen. What that does is that you're going to run into certain words that you don't know. You're going to run into grammatical structures that you don't know. Remember them. Then once you're done, go look it up. Go look up that word, go look up the structure, go check how this or that is supposed to be said in the language you're learning. I guarantee you will remember it next time, but most importantly, you will determine what the weak spots are at the moment. And also speak out when you're at home. Speak out loud. That's not going to work on a bus or something. That's a lot more complicated to do if you're in a public place. But when you are at home, I've done that a lot when I was learning English or Spanish. I would just also pick a topic. Let's say I would be wanting to talk about weather. And then I'd be doing dishes, for example, and talking about the weather here or the weather in the United States or the weather in Spain. It doesn't matter. It also lets you identify the vocabulary that you don't know, the structures, the adjectives, whatever it is that you're struggling with. When you're trying to speak, you understand what is it that you don't know at the moment. My mom has caught me so many times at home speaking in English or Spanish, and she would be laughing at first because she wouldn't understand anything. But trust me, that was one of the best tips and tricks that I used to learn foreign languages. Also, what is extremely important is that you should find the method and approach that works for you. While what I've covered so far, I've gotten from my personal experience, it might not necessarily work for you. So if music or movies or Netflix is better for you, concentrate on that because we all have different types of memory. So it's really important to identify the methods that are going to be mostly beneficial for you. Um, so I've just said music and movies is great. Every time I ask my students what is it that they do to study Russian, they always say, "Oh, we listen to music or watch movies." And then lately, they've all been naming kuchnia and internet. So if you're looking for something to do, take a screenshot of that or write it down. Sorry, for something to watch, and then you can watch that. Those are pretty funny, I guess, both. And then there's many episodes, so you can watch them, laugh a little bit, and learn Russian. But like I said, these are the two that my students have been mostly telling me about. All right, and so the last point, last but not least, travel. Well, now it kind of sounds sad, but I hope soon we'll be able to travel again. So travel long term if possible, because it's very important to be able to actually practice language you're studying. Right? You might do that online. You might listen to music and watch movies, but when you travel, you actually meet local people. That's different. So if you have a chance, check out different volunteering programs, summer programs, language programs, whatever it is. And then if you have a chance, do travel. Right. So one of the most important or most interesting, I should say, techniques and strategies that I've come across is mnemonics. And I don't know if you've heard of that. Let me know if you've heard of that or maybe you've used it. But I really wanted to cover it today because I found it really beneficial. So what mnemonics is, it's an instructional strategy designed to help us improve our memory of important information. And basically, what it does, it connects the new things you're learning to your prior knowledge through the use of visual acoustic cues, which is great because you're basing your new knowledge or your new skills on something that you've already learned. So you're making that connection, building that bridge. The basic types of mnemonic strategy have to do with keywords, rhyming words, or acronyms. And then, as I've said, this really helps us remember information, organize, and what is really important, retain it. Because a lot of times we learn something, but then we wake up in the morning and we don't remember. Why? Because it was a completely new word, unrelated to anything we already know, with a different sound, with a different meaning. And so, since we can't tie it to anything, we might not be able to remember it. Make sense? So so when we use mnemonics, we can remember easier. And then there are different types of mnemonics that we can use. One of them would be a rhyme mnemonic. And then what it does is it helps you rhyme words, the new words that you're learning, with the words that you already know. Okay. So if you can connect anything you already know to a new word you're learning, it's going to help you memorize it later on. Here's an example, okay? But this would work for like Russians, let's say, learning English. Listen to this. Проведем на кухне рейд, назовем тарелку plate, right? They rhyme. Вижу много умных глаз, как стакан назвали glass. So I don't know if you know all these words in Russian, but the main point here is that you're rhyming a word like I would be rhyming as a Russian native speaker, raid, to the word plate, which sounds similar. And then I'm also rhyming the word glass to an English new word for me in this case, which is glass. Okay. The best thing about it is not only make it up or just read it, but also create a visual image in your head. So if you can imagine what's happening here, then you can relate glass, right? And then glass. And then I guarantee you the chances of you remembering that word tomorrow is much higher if you do that versus just trying to remember the word glass without having to attach it to any image or anything you already know, to any of your prior knowledge, okay? You can do that with any language. Another method or type of mnemonic, so to say, would be using expression or word mnemonic. I also gave an example here, which can be used by anybody learning English, so not for a native English speaker. So if you were, let's say, you were to remember the 7 coordinating conjunctions, right, in English, and you couldn't quite remember the letters they start with or how many there are, you can just remember a word you already know, like funny, fanboys. And then you can decipher it into for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, right? It's just an example, and you can do that with any language. So there is more. Image mnemonic, which is my favorite. I think it works better than anything else. I probably do that about 60% of the time when I'm learning a new word or expression, if I can catch a connection, or if I can create it. Let me explain. So image mnemonic is when you're trying to attach a new word or something to an image because they look similar or sound similar. It's up to you, because we all create connections based on what we personally can relate it to. So for example, imagine that you are meeting someone new at a party, right? And then imagine that their name is Leo, or they're telling you that their name is Leo. And then there's like 5 more people and you're afraid you're going to forget the name, but you need their name later on. So what you can do is you can visualize a line, Leo line, right? You visualize, you look at that person, don't tell them that, but imagine you're looking at them and imagine that they look like a lion, okay? Just think about it for a couple of seconds. I guarantee you next time you see that person at a party, 10 minutes later, 30 minutes later, or an hour later, you're going to remember their name. You're going to remember that their name is Leo, because when you see them, you're actually going to see a lion. So you're going to visualize a lion. That's just the way our brain works. It likes attaching things we don't know to our prior knowledge. It helps a lot. And so you'll recall the image when you see them, and therefore you'll remember their name, right? So this would work for me, for example. If I saw somebody or met somebody named Leo, I could visualize a line. So what could work for you, for instance? Once again, I just want to emphasize, it doesn't work with all words. It doesn't work with all expressions. It just depends on whether you can create a connection, if you can think of a mnemonic method that would work for you. So for instance, let's say you meet somebody at a party and their name is Lyubov, right? And you're afraid that you're not going to remember, because there's also Katya, Yulia, Masha, Natasha, Ida, whatever. There's a lot of different people, and you need to remember that one name, Lyubov. And let's say you already know that that also means love in Russian. Just look at the person and see a huge, beautiful heart around their head. Or imagine they're just inside a big heart, right? Make the heart beautiful, make it really exaggerated. And then when you look at that person, imagine that you're, looking at them and they're inside a beautiful heart. And then just relate that heart and their name are similar. It's Bush, right? So I guarantee, again, trust me, it will work for you. When you see that person next time, you will remember their name just because you've made that connection in your head. Okay, I'm getting a message that there is no sound. Let me know if there's sound. Let me know if you can hear me. Tang said there is no sound. Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you.
Oh, Marco. Marco can hear me. He
Yes.
can hear me. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, if there's only one person not hearing me, Tang, please try your connection, or please make sure that I'm not muted. Okay. Yes, Leisha. Thank you so much, guys. Uh-huh. Okay. So seems that my sound is all right, right? Just making sure that I'm not talking to myself. That'd be upsetting. Okay, so being able to narrow those geographical gaps for the communication that the knowledge language provides. Okay, thank you, Jesus. Okay, you can hear me. That's great. So Okay, so you can hear me. Great, thank you guys. Um, let's go back to our presentation. I just want to remind you if you have any questions, please write them in the chats. And here we go again. So meanwhile, if you've used any of these methods that I've told you about, please let me know what are the images maybe you made, or what were the methods that you used to remember a certain word or an expression in a foreign language that you are learning. There's also spelling mnemonic. This is my point number 4, the presentation. So for example, also for well, that can work for a foreign student learning English. That could also work for a native English speaker trying to remember how to write the word principle, for example, or principle, because they sound very similar, right? But the spelling is different. So if you can't remember, here's a good way. Principal at school is your pal, and the principle you believe or follow is a rule, right? This expression is really easy to remember, and the next time you'll be writing and you're confused whether it's PAL or whether it's LE, just remember it, and it'll be a lot easier for you to remember the spelling of these words. So I hope this makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions or if this even sounds reasonable to you. I know that not everybody uses these methods, okay? It's not very common. Mostly we just try to write a bunch of words and then we try to read them every time we wake up and go to sleep. And that's also helpful. The more you read, the more you practice, the more you remember. But if you can simplify ways of learning for yourself, if you can find ways that make it easier, then I think it makes sense to use them. So try to incorporate that in your daily language learning, and let me know if that's any helpful at all. So here I have more examples for you, and this has to do precisely with Russian. So we all do that in kindergarten when we're trying to learn the colors and the colors of the rainbow. We have this phrase, which I suggest that you learn, and it goes like this. Каждый охотник желает знать, где сидит фазан. So what this does is, if we look at the first letter of every word in this sentence, this letter is also the first letter in the color that corresponds to the word. For example, if you look at this picture that I have on the slide, каждый starts with K, а начинается да с буквы К. Соответственно, цвет, который соответствует этому слову, это красный. Да? Каждый красный, КК. Then the next word is охотник, starts with O, and then the color, which is a hunter. And then the color is orange, it also starts with O. Then желает, wants to or wishes to, starts with the letter Ж, and then the color corresponding is желтый. Then the next one is знать, starts with Z, and then the color is зеленый, right? Зеленый is green. Где starts with the letter G, and then the color corresponding is голубой, which is light blue. Сидит starts with S and then corresponds to color синий, which is dark blue. And then the very last one is фазан, which starts with the letter F, and then the color corresponding is фиолетовый. It has helped a ton of students to remember the colors, trust me. We all know this expression, we all learn it in school, and then we pretty much use it throughout our life because it's so helpful to remember. But then once you learn it once, there's really no reason to learn it again, because it's so easy to remember and it's stuck in your head forever. Then number 2 is very important. Most native speakers, trust me on that, make a mistake in Russian. So in Russian, we say, when you try to put on something, when you wear something, we say надевать, okay? Надевать шапку, надевать платье, надевать кофту, anything you're putting on, надевать. Я надеваю шапку, for example, I'm wearing a hat, or I'm putting on a hat. Я надеваю шарф, I'm putting on a scarf. Yet, if you're dressing somebody, you're putting clothes on somebody, let's say you're trying to dress your kid for school, that would be одевать, okay? Very confusing for some reason for most Russian native speakers. If at some point you reach a level where you can catch that difference and you'll be able to pick it up when people are saying that, pay attention to that. You'll catch a lot of people using the wrong verbs, replacing them. So how to remember that? You can. There's actually a very easy way. You remember this. Одевать надежду, но надевать одежду. right? If you remember that, it might take you a second next time you're trying to figure out which word to use in a divide or a divide. It might take you a little bit because you'll have to remember that and then process it. And then, okay, so I'm dressing my kid, dressing Nadezhda, so that's a divide. Yet I'm dressing myself, putting something on, putting a hat or a scarf or a coat. This is ya nadivаю, nadivat. Okay, also a great way of remembering. Once again, if you didn't know those words, adivat is to dress somebody, put clothes on somebody, like dress your kid. And then nadivat, something, nadivat что-либо, means to put on clothes, to dress yourself. One more example, also in Russian, the word horizon in Russian is горизонт. Горизонт, if that's a new word for you, write it down, remember it, горизонт. And then, well, it depends if you already know the words gora is zont, right, which is mountain, and umbrella, zont. If you know them, it can be easier for you to remember. This would be the visual type of mnemonic where you visualize, let's say you visualize really high, beautiful mountains and you imagine an umbrella in between the, just try to imagine it, okay? Imagine really tall mountains and a big, I don't know, yellow umbrella in between the mountains. That's the image that you need. And then we combine gara, gor, right? Because there's many of them, and then zont. And when what we are getting is garizont. Make sense to you? Try to visualize, but really it takes some work. You can't just say, okay, let's say there's mountains and an umbrella. You actually have to imagine that image in your head. So do that, mountains, a huge umbrella, of exaggerate, as I've said. The key here is of exaggeration. And then think gora and zont, right? Mountain and an umbrella, put them together, and we're getting the word горизонт, which is horizon in Russian. If you've done this right now, if you will follow me when I was doing it, I guarantee you can remember that tomorrow, okay? So we are, as I said, we're gonna do some practice. We're gonna have a mnemonic party, so say, and I've prepared just a couple words for you that I think you could use to practice. And then the first one is sok, okay? Sok in Russian means juice. So let's say you're trying to remember the word sok, but you're not being very successful at it. There is something you can also do. This would also be, well, I guess kind of visual in a way, but also partially you time this to your prior knowledge, to something that you already know. So when the waitress spilled the juice on me, I got soaked. Just also visualize that. Imagine that you're sitting at a restaurant. Imagine all the details, right? You have a table next to the window, and then you're drinking something, and then the waiter comes to you and she has a glass of juice, and then somehow she stumbles upon something, and then she spills the juice on you, and you get all soaked. Imagine that you're soaking wet, all this orange juice is on you, all over your face and your hair. Um, and then um, imagine that you're soaked. And then this is the word sock, right? Juice, sock. So this is how you can remember the word in Russian. There's also word снег, хорошо, море, снег is snow, хорошо is fine. Море is sea, and then собака is a dog. So just try and see if you can come up with any way of remembering this word for yourself, or these words for yourself. Let me know if you can think of anything, okay? Once again, снег, это snow, хорошо is fine, well, море is sea, and then собака is a dog. So imagine something that you could use to relate these words to your prior knowledge. Anything that maybe sounds familiar or sounds similar to these words, maybe any visual images that can work for you. Maybe you can rhyme it to something. Let me know. Okay. Let's try. Well, let's try снег, snow, and also хорошо, because many people know that хорошо means fine, good. Okay. Let me stop that so I can see you chat. I remember there was a person called Cappuccino who told me her initiative cappuccino, like cappuccino with final E. Yeah, exactly. I actually have a friend. He's Cuban, but he goes by Cappuccino, and I had to, I had to remember that. I also made certain, well, clearly, relation to coffee. Yeah, that's great. So, anybody else? I don't know if you can, if you've used that before. And thank you so much, Marco, for your comment. I'm glad to hear that people actually that you use mnemonic in your life. Also, let me know if you can, as I've said, make any connection to the word снег and the word хорошо. Also, the word собака. If there's anything that comes to mind, let me know. Okay. And then once again, let me tell you what I can think of. Снег is for, it kind of sounds like snack, okay? Like something you can eat between classes or something you can have a bite. And then imagine that instead of the snowflakes or a lot of snow on the ground, you see a bunch of different snacks. Some nuts, some chocolate bars, some protein bars, whatever it is that you use for snack, maybe apples. Just imagine it all lying around the ground, just like snow, okay? Snack and then a snack, something you would snack on. So that image might be stuck in your head, and then next time you want to remember the word snack, you will think of snack, and then that will give you an idea of how to say snow in Russian. Um, and then, well, I don't want to give you all the images or things that come to my mind because, as I've said, they're very individual, right? Snack as snack might work for me but might make no sense for you, so maybe you can imagine or come up with something different for yourself. One I really like works for me, for example, if I were to remember the word sabaka, I would probably think of a sobbing, really sad canine dog. Why? Because it starts with sob, right? Sobaka, sobbing, and then ka at the end. So it's like that's like canine kind of. So imagine a sobbing canine dog, and then that would be your image for remembering the word sabaka. When you think about it, when you're trying to remember how to say dog, you use the image of a crying dog will appear in your head. Okay, then you will think, okay, the dog is it's sobbing, so it's sob, and then canine dog, right? Ka at the end, sob and ka, and that will give you an idea that the dog is in Russian is sabaka. So as I've said, these methods are very unusual, very similar, and then they are very individual, right? So may not work for me. Yeah, great, Marco. Yeah, I'm not sure what the stress is. Sabato, sabato. I'm not really sure. Probably sabato. But yeah, that's a great. See, that's what I mean. I would never come up with that comparison. Why? Because I don't speak Italian. I speak Spanish, but I don't speak Italian. Sábado. Well, in Spanish, sábado, right? It's also kind of similar, so I could think about it. Um, Sabaka, so barking. I love that. I love that. That's great. See, so barking, sabaka. Yeah, so it just depends on what works for you, and that's exactly what I meant. Like if you speak a different language where that sounds, a particular word sounds similar to something you already know, to your prior knowledge, make that connection, and then I guarantee you that it will be easier for you to learn. Okay, let me just check real quick how much time we have left. So yeah, guys, sabbatical holiday, bring the dog. I love it. I love your examples. Thank you so much for sharing. I think I'm gonna write them down because they sound like really really helpful, really smart, really unusual. Thank you so much. That's actually very interesting. So that's what I mean. That they all sound. We all come up with our own examples, and they're all very, very individual. So yeah, these were my examples, and thank you so much for participating. I'm really happy that you've come up with your own examples, and that pretty much concludes the methods that I've been using. So please let me know if you have any questions at all. Also, if you want to share something with us, if you want to speak Russian, if you want to say anything, if you want to greet other participants, unmute yourself. You can turn your camera on, and if there's something you want to say, I'll be happy to hear. Ребят, еще раз всем привет. Если вы хотите поговорить по-русски, если вы хотите что-нибудь сказать, right, if you want to say anything, feel free to Unmute yourself, feel free to say anything. And if not, that's also fine. It doesn't even have to be in Russian. You can say it in English. Um, Nobody so far? Okay, well, if you feel like more.
Спасибо.
О, Марго,
Я,
спасибо. Пожалуйста, пожалуйста. Вы говорите на русском?
я был в школе э, две года назад, 2 лет назад. Э, я в Петербурге. И сейчас я не изучу русский так много. Но
Ага.
это интересно. Я,
Очень классно.
я не использовал это.
Ага.
Да. Я не использовал активно эту методу Mnemonics. So, я думаю, что это будет нужно. Да. И всем привет, alle пользователи. Да, это.
That's so nice. Thank you so much for unmuting yourself. That's really great. Вы очень хорошо говорите. И я очень рада, что вы были в Санкт-Петербурге, что вы были в России. Очень-очень приятно слышать. Очень приятно. Спасибо еще раз. Огромное-огромное спасибо. If anyone else wants to say something, feel free to unmute yourself and then share your experience with Russian or any other languages that you learn or speak or any other methods that you're using. But yeah, as I said, you can use that, right? Anytime you try to remember something, just make a visual connection, rhyme the new word to something you've already learned before, and then next time you remember that word, that image or that little poem that you can make up for yourself will work for you. And also, I've already said that once, but I would really like to emphasize that the more emphasized, or should I say absurd, the image is, the better it works. That's just how our brain works. I've studied that. And then for some reason, our brain works better with images that are either weird or unreal or terrible or really emphasized and really absurd, and the more the absurd they are, the better we'll remember them. So if you're trying to make a visual, if you're trying to make an image, a visual connection, you can make it really weird, really strange, but as long as it works for you. But the more I'm looking at your examples, the more I like them, like soul barking. Yeah, that's great. Sabaka, sabaki, I like that a lot. And sabbatical also. But Sabato is, I think, that's the best because like it's really similar. Sabato versus Sabato. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So guys, I'm glad that you've agreed with me on this method. I'm glad that it's, well, you're kind of already using that. So I hope that you'll continue using it. Continue learning of Russian. Russian might not be very easy at first, or might not be, might not seem a very easy language to learn. But with time and dedication and different cheating methods like mnemonic, for example, I guarantee that you can learn how to speak it after some time. And so come to Russia when you have a chance, when we're all back to traveling and flying and all that stuff that we used to have before. Visit us. We'll be really happy to see you here. And then if your Russian is still, very limited, that's fine. It's enough for traveling for now. Just trying to communicate with Russian people and learn more. Um, you're so welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback. I really, really appreciate that. It's really important. And then I hope that some of it has been helpful and that you'll be using that in your learning process. So you're welcome, Jesus. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. It was a great pleasure to meet you, so to say, to share my knowledge and my experiences with you. And I hope that you'll be able to apply that in your future learning process. Okay? So thank you so much again. Let me know once again if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions. Also, let me see here. You can also see our contact information right here, right? Our email and our phone. So if you have any questions regarding the classes or anything, or just want to share your feedback, please feel free to email or give us a call. we'll be really happy to talk, to speak with you. Okay, so thank you so much again. It was my pleasure to meet you all. Have a great day, everybody. Keep learning Russian. And then I hope to meet you in person one day and speak Russian to you. Okay? Спасибо еще раз огромное. Всем спасибо за то, что вы были сегодня с нами. Спасибо, что вы учите русский, вы интересуетесь Россией, нашей культурой. Вот. И мы с вами увидимся тогда на следующих вебинарах. Окей? Все, всем спасибо огромное. Желаю вам хорошего дня. Have a great day, everybody. And bye-bye. Hope to see you soon. Пока-пока. Пока.